Hey, y'all. Welcome to the show. I have another awesome lady that I happen to have met in prison. Her name is Chanel Jones. If you did time with her, you know her as Peaches. Chanel, hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on the show and agreeing to share some of your story.
Oh, it's no problem at all.
Chanel, we did several years together. I did 10 on Lane Murray and you had already been there. So how much time did you do?
I did 16 and a half years.
How old were you when you started your time?
I started my time when I was 18. I actually caught my charge at 17, and then I went into prison. I went into the prison at 18.
Did you do your entire time, or are you on parole now?
No, I'm still on parole.
What was your sentence, your whole sentence?
I had stacked sentence, so I had a 4 and a 20.
24 years, essentially, at 17 years old. How did that feel, Chanel, being, you were a kid?
I guess you could say, like, yeah, it's a little scary hearing that number, like, because I wouldn't give up certain people, or I wouldn't name certain people, because my crime is organized crime with burglary, and it was like a ring of people. So I basically just kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to talk about nobody else, and it was a specific person that they were after that was in my group, and they really wanted to nail this person because he had a lot of other stuff going on too. Because I wouldn't say anything, they decided to use me and set an example. So hence the 20-year sentence that came from the county, the judge, the prosecutor, and she definitely pushed for it. It was scary, but then at the same time, it's just like I got to do it. Like it's no way out of it.
I think that the district attorney's office uses that strategy often to threaten a bigger sentence if you don't give information. And I think what they don't understand is that we have to live in the community. If you give me a little sentence or you take it easy on me, I have to go home to the community that you're basically asking me to snitch on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And like they're so focused on hitting their mark that they don't think about the future outcome, about your safety or your family's safety.
So you were doing what you had to do. You went in and you faced this sentence
head on. Like I went in kicking.
You went in pretty young. Sometimes people that go in kind of young, they get a little bit of favor. Do you feel like maybe you were babied a little bit by other incarcerated people or by officers?
I don't feel like I got no baby treatment. I did have like some older people, they took to me. That's like Lucky, Tammy Jones, like she took to me like immediately. I mean, it was a few older ones that just they gravitated towards me and they wanted to claim me as their kid, like because like inside, like everybody makes like their own families. So going in, like I really pretty much tried to say to myself, I'm very observant. I try to watch my surroundings and all that. So I didn't really try to hang out with people too much, jump into crowds or anything when I first got in. And it seemed like that I should have stayed out of trouble since I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't trying to click up with anybody. That didn't work. Like I still ended up getting in fights. And I was getting into fights because I'm young, I got a cute shape, I'm pretty. And that's what people were thinking, oh, you trying to talk to my girlfriend, or I might be bunkies or roommates with somebody's girlfriend, and oh, y'all in there messing around, and it's like, oh my God, like, so I'm being accused of this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not doing none of that. Like, I'm just like, nah, I ain't doing none of that. Like, I'm not messing around. I'm not doing nothing. I ain't bothering nobody. And then I'm out there fighting on the rec yard because somebody trying to jump on me, so I'm defending myself. And I'm going to say it started off rough.
How many times do you think that you went to administrative segregation or restrictive housing, solitary confinement, whatever you guys want to call it? It's a 5x9 cell.
Throughout my whole incarceration?
Yeah.
maybe 50, 60, a lot. I did.
What do you think the most petty reason that they put you in solitary confinement for was?
So an officer one time, she called herself trying to be funny, like cracking a joke on me. And so when I cracked one back and everybody that was in the dorm that was around heard it and laughed, like she got really mad about it and she started talking crap to me. So I'm like, you started it though. Like, I know you're not mad because you started it. How you gonna be mad and you started it? You started it. But you can't, I mean, you dished it out. You can't take it back. So she got mad and she just crossed me out. And she said I threatened her. Like, she literally crossed me out. And I was just like, oh my God. But I ended up not getting a case because everybody in the dorm spoke up because they was like, no, if y'all roll that camera back, y'all will see that she stopped at Jones' cubicle and said something to her. I had to take my headphones off to hear what she said to me. And then I responded back. And everybody laughed. And yeah, she was trying to take me out. Just that quick, just over something she started because she wanted to try to be funny. And then when it backfired, she was like, oh no, we ain't finna do that. And you're gonna see it.
So you use the term cross you out, and y'all cross you out, cross me out, CrossAction Law, CrossAction Inmate. All that means is somebody that's going to try to get you hemmed up for not necessarily something that you've done. Officers have 100% authority in there, and their word generally is everything. All they have to say is one thing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that you didn't get the case, honestly, because I've seen that same scenario so many times where even with lots of witness statements,
you still get the case. Yeah. Yeah. I got lucky. I got lucky.
We had good officers, and by good officers, I mean people that were just there to do their job and not necessarily come down on us unjustly and unnecessarily. And we had the opposite of that. Tell me, we're talking about cross action. Tell me, like, the worst situation you've seen with an officer that you can think of.
The worst, I have to say, probably watching a sergeant slam an inmate, and not just any old. I mean, this inmate was mentally, she was, for the term, using the term mentally retarded. She was there. Like, I don't even feel like she should have been at the unit. I feel like she should have been at one of the other units too, because her IQ level definitely wasn't high enough for her to even fully comprehend. I watched a sergeant slam her and bust her head open. And that just was like that's just something that's one of the main things that'll pop in my head. Like, if somebody asks me about a bad experience there, like, that's like one of the first things that always pop in my head.
We were incarcerated with a lot of people with, it seemed like everyone we were incarcerated with, frankly, had some sort of mental illness problems. That was my take. But then we were also incarcerated with a big handful of ladies that are just like you're talking about. You knew that they weren't there completely and they needed more help than what the prison offered. Those kind of images, when we witness those things, they cause trauma. They cause trauma to the staff. They cause trauma to the people that are warehoused in those prisons. It's just harmful for everyone. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we definitely had officers that, because we were there for a long time, they watched us, in a sense, grow as people. They watched you grow up, quite frankly. What's maybe
now, I would say,
yeah.
I did kind of, okay, so I want to say in total, I did like 10 and a half years on Lane Murray. So with the officers that was there when I first came in, towards the end of my sentence, like, I was in favor. Like, they showed favoritism. They would let me make it, or I could talk them out of writing people cases. I had several people come to me with, I'm just going to use her nickname, Littlefoot, because they knew I was a favorite. So they'll come to me and be like, hey, can you go talk to her? I really can't get this case. Please, whatever. So I'll be like, all right, and I'll go talk her out of it. Or she might take their property. And they'll be like, hey, Peaches, can you please go talk to her? Because I need that back. And so I gotta go up there and talk to her for about an hour to try to get their stuff back. Being there as long as I was, like, I did have certain staff show favoritism towards me. And then and there were a few that just never liked me the whole time I was there. So
Personalities definitely play a factor in
yeah,
anywhere that we're at, for sure. Had you already graduated high school when you got incarcerated?
yes, I already had a GED.
Okay.
Way before I got my GED when I was 16. So I had already done all that before I got incarcerated.
Did you know anyone else in your life that had been incarcerated?
None of my family. No, I can't. I come from a military background family, so no, that's a no. Yeah, I have a cut. Like, I was raised by my aunt and uncle, and they were military. My cousin is an FBI agent, and no, they're just my family. No, that's not.
Did you go to county jail before you went to, like, did you stay in county jail or were you out on bond?
I was on bond for a little while, and then I ended up going back to the county jail once I got my time.
Were you in county jail with people that had been to prison before?
Yes.
Did
So
they-
yes, I
Yeah.
did. I did my little, my little Q&As, and everybody just was telling me, don't bulldog, and just pretty much stay to yourself and don't bulldog, which is the same advice that I try to tell people too.
Me too. Me too. Okay, so can you tell the people what bulldog means? Bulldagging?
Okay. So basically the term bulldogging means a woman being with another woman. Yeah, in a lesbian relationship, basically.
Why do you give that advice to someone that might be looking at time?
Just because my personal experience, and just from just being outside looking in at how toxic those relationships are in there, how often you see people who could have been home with their families, being out here living their lives, they still in there because they're in those relationships, those horrible toxic relationships, and they get stuck in there having to stay longer because they're fighting, or they get caught having sex, or I mean threatening people behind their girlfriends. It's a horrible cycle.
You and I know each other from prison, and we've both been like all the way down that road. Have you ever gotten in a fight behind a prison relationship?
Several.
Me too. And that's why we give the advice that if you're looking at time, just stay out of it. Regardless if you are going into the penitentiary attracted to women already, or you are full-blown lesbian going into prison, honestly, just stay away from it if you want to make parole. That's a tough situation. Have you ever seen anybody give up their parole answer for their girlfriend in there?
Yes.
Yeah, it happens.
And then I just look like, me just being blunt in how I am. I'm like, you stupid. I mean, and I'll tell them to their face. That's how I feel. Like, I feel like you're being stupid. I feel like that was a dumb decision. But, oh, I'm so in love. Like, that's how they are. Like, they just lost in love. And I ain't never been that in love.
Right.
Never been that in love.
From what I witnessed, the majority of violence in women's prison has to do with domestic violence. It's based around relationships, either with your partner or behind something to do with your partner. Did you really witness any violence outside of that?
Yeah, participated in it. I know, like, because I lost a parole answer because I got into a fight behind somebody stealing my friend's stuff. My friend went suicidal, so she went to the psych center. The officer was supposed to be packing up her stuff, and she had an inmate packing up the stuff with her, the SSI packing up the stuff with her. Well, the SSI decided that she was going to steal her radio and a couple other items, coffee, chips. The bunkie saw the SSI do it. So she came and told me. And when she came, she literally came and woke me up out my sleep. and told me, hey, the SSI stole your friend's stuff and it's under her bed. So I get up, I go under her bed and pull the bag out and I grab her stuff and I take it to the picket and I tell the picket officer, hey, you need to put this with her stuff because your SSI stole it and was under her bed. Well, the SSI, she didn't see me coming out her cubicle with the stuff. So she come up there and she calls me a snitch. So she calls me a snitch. So I'm like, call me whatever you want to call me. I don't care. I'm using more cuss words though at the time, but whatever. Like, because I'm furious. Like, that you would just go in there and steal that girl's stuff like that. And she wasn't one that made store like that. So what she had is what she had, and it wasn't no telling how long it would be before she got money because she didn't make store like that. Going into it, she's steady sitting at the table calling me a snitch or whatever, and something like whatever. So I sit down at another table and I'm talking to someone else. The officer has her stuff. She's putting it in there with her. She said she gonna write her up. So she mad because she getting rolled up now because she stole that girl's stuff. And so she walks by me and she has a chemical spray bottle and she sprays me in my face. And I just snatched that bottle and I just blacked out. And it was on camera. So I went to say it, but I lost my answer behind it.
And that was a pretty normal reaction, I would say, if someone sprays chemical in your face. Would be a physical reaction. In Texas, y'all, you cannot defend yourself in Texas prisons. So if Peaches and I got into it and I swung on her and she put her hand up to block me, if she pushes me off of her, those actions constitute a fighting case.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe you lost your parole answer when they saw on camera. If it was on camera, the girl sprays you in the face with chemicals. Even if that happened out here in the free world, that would cause a fight. How did you find out you lost your parole answer behind that?
I think I got G4. I believe it. That fight G4 me. I was waiting on a program. Oh, they had just started their cognitive program, so I was supposed to open it up. And when they start pulling everybody, they pulled everybody but me. So that's how I knew. And then I ended up having a family call. And when the family called, they had them giving me a set-off.
How did your family take that?
They were upset, but they still wrote it out. They were upset, but at the same time, they taught me to defend myself. So they couldn't really just be mad because that's what I've been taught all my life. If somebody do something towards me in any type of way to harm me, I'm going to defend myself. That's what they taught me. So
the culture in prison and the expectancy of certain actions or certain reactions, it definitely changed the way that I thought while I was doing time. Do you feel like you changed some of your behavior or adapted to prison?
You mean before or after?
During prison, like, do you think that environment brought things out in you that maybe you wouldn't have done had you been home? And I'm not talking about that fight because that one was obviously a reaction, a natural reaction.
I think no, not really, because I don't think prison actually, like, before prison, I didn't cuss. Like, I didn't cuss before prison, but oh my God, my mouth is so filthy. Like, and that's something I picked up in prison, like the cussing. Oh, my mouth is so dirty.
Did you take any classes while you were in prison?
Yes, I took cognitive intervention, life skills. I think just mainly those classes, some male classes, some classes by male, religious classes.
How was that cognitive intervention class?
I enjoyed it. I took it a couple times, but throughout my sentence, like, because you can take it every 2 years. So I took it a couple times. I took changes too. They were okay. I mean, pretty self-explanatory, like common sense. They really taught a lot of like common sense stuff.
How were the officers that worked the education building?
They were decent. I didn't have any issues with any of the officers that worked in the education building. By the time I was in school, I had been on the unit forever, so I didn't have any issues.
The officers already knew you. They knew you were just there. You were just going to go to school. You weren't a target.
No, I was not a target. No, not in the schoolhouse. Now, if I was in the chapel, In the chapel, I'd be a target, but not in the education building.
Let's talk about chapel services in the penitentiary. We're in Texas. The majority of volunteers that come in, the vast majority, 99% it's Christian. We're in the Bible Belt, and they hold chapel every Sunday for Christian faith, and they have special Christian-based events. So let's talk about that. Explain how that looks.
Depending on the service, say it's a special event, it may be a numbered amount of people that will be allowed out of each dorm to go to the chapel. So say it might be like the first 20 people out of each dorm that can go to the chapel because they have a limited amount of space. For a regular Sunday service, it may not be that many people that'll fall out, go to church. You'll just line up. They'll send you out by dorms. You're supposed to sit with your dorm, but of course you always have a few hard-headed people who want to go sit with their girlfriends or sit with their friends or pass some stuff. So they'll make their way to sit somewhere else. You just have your service. And the thing about the services is you're going to service to hear about whatever religious preference that's there. You're there to listen to the word, hear what they have to say. And in a way, it's some of the volunteers that come in, it's great that they want to volunteer. It's great that they want to come in, bring that into the prison. But at the same time, it's a lot of them that focus on homosexuality. That's something that makes people not want to go because it seems like they're not really coming to give a word. They're just coming to speak on how not to be homosexual or how it's the Bible says not to do this, but their main focus is homosexuality, and it's discouraging for some people who want to go out and actually hear a word because they're just going to hear the same things each and every time. That was a tough thing about that.
Did you feel like the prison system as a whole kind of zoned in on homosexuality in women's prisons?
Yes, definitely. When you think about it, most of the fights are happening because of homosexuality. People are out of place because they're trying to get to their girlfriends, or majority of the time when it comes back to it, it's something behind a relationship.
I often thought, man, this prison, honestly, they would rather us fight than FUCK.
Yeah, later, yes.
It seemed like the punishment was less for violence than it was for sex.
Yeah, it was. I might could have a fight and not get G4, but if I get caught having sex, I'm getting G4.
And G4 just means a drop in custody level from general population to medium custody, and you're just confined to your cell most of the day. You go to work and you're confined, except for a short little time you get day room. You talked about passing things in the chapel. You talked about people wanting to sit next to each other because they had things to pass. What kind of things did you see getting passed around in a women's prison?
Commissary, food, hygiene products, makeup, perfume, books, magazines, socks. Socks, yeah.
Tell us about a sock.
Socks are used to transport a number of things because the socks are so long and they stretch. A lot of times people use socks to stuff several items inside of it so that they're not just passing one thing at a time. It'll make it easier for them to pass because they just have to take out that one sock and get rid of it and stuff it wherever you're going to stuff it and go on about your business.
Have you ever seen a cell phone?
No.
Have you ever seen any drugs in prison?
I saw marijuana. That's it.
What about weapons?
Not really. I just know just like blades that they break their razors down and use. Besides that, no.
Those aren't the kind of items that we're walking down the street to pass or to use out. We're worried about cooking a birthday meal for our friend.
Yeah, most of the time we have blades out. We're breaking blades down. It's to cut hair, slice pickles or Spam or something with. I used to use a blade to do my eyebrows. So Some people use blades for art projects that they're doing. Like, it's not really used for harming anybody. I could say in the time that I did, I've only seen one person actually take a blade to harm somebody else with, like in a serious way. And that was out of my whole incarceration only one time. It's not really used like in a sense to hurt someone physically.
In the 16 years that you did, how did you form relationships with some of the other ladies that were incarcerated, like friendships, family? Talk about that a little bit.
I don't know. I guess you could just say like with so much time, like knowing people, the time that a lot of us did, like we came in the system around the same amount, around the same time. So a lot of us grew up in there. So in a sense, it's like we grew up together. So that bonded us. That in itself bonded us. And say it was times like, okay, I'm gonna use Star for example, because that's my baby. I love her. Me and Star, we have not, and y'all see us together all the time. She'll pull up on me, I'll pull up on her. Like we got a bond that's set for life. Like can't nobody tell me nothing about her. Like nobody can break that bond that we have. And we've known each other for so long, and it's like we've been through good, bad, and ugly. I'm not, we haven't always seen eye to eye. We've gotten into it. It's been times where we wanted to fight each other and everything behind girlfriends. And I don't know, it's just like we made it. And then it's like after doing so much time in there and getting out, the odds are against us in so many ways. And it's just like we gotta keep each other motivated. We gotta uplift each other. We gotta keep each other just in the right state of mind to just keep pushing and do better, because so many people want us to fail. So many people are waiting to see if we mess up and go back. And so I just feel like as long as we just keep on holding each other accountable and uplifting each other, I don't know, those bonds can't be broken. After you've been through the stuff that we've been through, like people out here can't relate.
Do you find that you're more comfortable being around people that have been incarcerated?
Yeah.
Me too.
Especially people that did a long time. Yeah. I'm very comfortable. And then it's like, it's kind of harder, like, some people just don't understand, because after you've done a lot of time in being incarcerated and then you just come out into the world, and some people just expect you to just come right out and just get it, like get everything. Like, and no, it's still stuff. I'm still trying to learn stuff. Like, it's still stuff I don't know how to do with this iPhone. And it's just, it's harder for some people who never been in to understand or to see things how you see it. So
you brought up Star, and she's on my list to be interviewed. But she works, so she's somebody that did a lot of time, and she's just one of a really good example of somebody very driven, very hard worker. She works 2 jobs. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about your employment after incarceration.
When I first got out, I worked at a child care facility. When I first got out, I worked at a facility for children who were going into the CPS system. I did that. I worked there until I gave birth to my daughter. Afterwards, I didn't go back. I didn't want to go back to work until my daughter was like 3 months. So I like 3 months, I was just like, it's just me and baby. I'm not doing no work. I'm not going back. So, and then like with that job, I love them kids. But with that job, it was hard on me emotionally because of the situation some of those kids went through. So it was a little hard on me emotionally, because it's like, I want to take all of them home. So, and yeah, so I didn't return back to that job. I worked at Tesla, the car manufacturer. I did that for a while. I stopped working there, and I got a job as a security officer. With this security officer job, they had to do a background check. They said it goes back 10 years, which of course my sentence exceeded that 10 years. Once the background check cleared, they contacted me, asked me to come in for orientation. I came in for orientation. I had to take a certification class I took the class, got certified. So there were several classes I had to take. I did all those, got my little certificate, and started my employment. Well, into a couple weeks into my employment, I received a letter in the mail from the Texas Department of Public Safety. In that letter, it said that I needed to cease employment because they were denying me to receive my security license. So therefore, I'm like, well, y'all just want me to stop working and not provide for my kid. Like, I'm calling people. So I'm like, what exactly does this letter tell me? Like, I just can't work. I just have to stop working. So I call and contact the people that sent me I contacted the DPS office. I talked to them, and they're saying, no, that means you have to stop working. So I'm like, so y'all just want me to just stop working at the drop of a dime and not have a job? And I have bills. I have a daughter I have to take care of. I'm a single mother. So you're telling me that I have to stop this job and not have no money coming into my house to take care of me and my child and my bills? She was basically, yes. And I'm just like, I was in shock, because it was just like, how do y'all do a background check and hire me and then turn around and do this? You hired me. My background check cleared. You hired me, but now y'all are refusing to give me a license because of my background. I'm still at a loss about that. And they said I could appeal it and submit some stuff. I appealed it. I have yet to have a hearing. I still have yet to have a hearing for it. And this has been, maybe a month or so ago. That just was horrible. That was a horrible experience. Luckily, I could do DoorDash and Run Favor and Spark and all that to be able to make the money I need to take care of home. It's not like I wanted it to be, but I have another job now, so thank God for that.
You brought up your baby. When did you have your baby? How long after you got out was she born?
I had her in 2021. I believe I got pregnant within 6 months of getting out, something like that. Definitely fertile. Oh goodness, it's so unexpected because I was on birth control too, so stuff happens. She's here.
Yes, she is, and she's wonderful. She's wonderful. So you're like navigating basically this new world and navigating life as a new mother. How has that been? Any obstacles there?
It's been several. It's been times where I had issues. Like, okay, for instance, she got sick. She got real sick, and she was in the hospital. And I had an issue with my employer. Like, and I'm like, I got doctor's notes, and the employer still wanted to give me a hard time. And I'm like, you know what? My daughter that's what's important. So, I mean, if I got a doctor's note, I'm telling you, I got a doctor's note. I'm at the hospital. Like, what more can I do? It's just, when I first decided to go back to work, it just was hard, like, working, because I work 12-hour shifts. So I'm working 12-hour shifts. I got a new baby still, a little baby still. And it was hard. It's hard. And then it's like I'm doing everything alone. I don't have no help. So it's been hard, but I managed to get it done.
Do you keep in contact with anybody that's still incarcerated now?
Yes. My best friends, Tiffany Walton and Cruz.
How do you show them support from outside?
Now that they have tablets, they like to break my pockets. They have tablets now, so I mean, I send pictures. I send money when I can. The phone is set up, so I talk to them on the phone.
So tell me about the tablets. What do you know about the tablets? Do you think they're a good thing? What kind of apps are on them?
I know that they can watch movies. They can send you emails from the tablet. They can receive pictures on the tablet. Cars, they have like e-cards you can send on the tablets to them, and that they can send. I think they have movies as well as games, like little Sudoku puzzles or other little games. I think they can buy. I think they get. I don't know. She said it's 1,000 game 1,000, maybe more than 1,000 for like $14.99 a month or something like that.
What if we had tablets when we were there?
I probably would have stayed out of trouble. I think I would have came home a long time ago.
I agree with you. I feel like if I had that tablet when I was incarcerated, I would have stayed in my cubicle or cell a lot more often. And then the fact that they can make phone calls on their tablet, so you're not waiting in line for the phone and all of that drama. If there was something that you think TDCJ, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, should do to change the system, what's the first thing that comes to your mind that needs changed? Administrative segregation. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what that cell looks like.
Okay, so dirty, dirty, small, just those cells look depressing. So they make you feel depressed. Like it's just a dreary feeling when you get put in one of those cells.
Do you know anybody that has been housed in those cells long term?
Yes. I know a few people that were housed.
Do you think that that has affected their mental health, being housed in that cell alone with no human contact?
I mean, there are some that I feel like if they weren't in the cell that long as they were, they wouldn't do certain stuff. Like I know that environment took a toll on their mental.
I know that your time as a single mom is precious and the little one has let us talk this long, but we're probably pushing it. So let's wrap it up. But I just have one final question for you. If you could go back in time to talk to 16-year-old Chanel, what would you want her to know about life?
Okay, go ahead. Go. I probably would tell her, use her brains for something better. To use her brains for something better. Not to try to fit in so much. Life will get better.
Thanks so much for taking time to visit with me. You have a platform on TikTok and you talk about life in prison, life after prison, single mom life, and humor. You have a lot of funny things on there and it's a very uplifting platform. I love it. I definitely want you guys to go check it out if you haven't checked it out.